Hello, welcome to this session, which will be dedicated to the benefits of my way of eating. I'm Luisa Morrone. I am the founder of My Way of Eating, which can be your way of eating. And it's dedicated to reversing type 2 diabetes, to helping type 2 diabetics get off medications completely or decrease the amount of medications they're taking. It's also dedicated to helping them lose weight, and also in understanding how the carbs, the foods, and especially the carbs that we eat are impacting our type 2 diabetes. So today's topic is the benefits of my way of eating. And so what I want you to understand is that, permanent weight loss and permanent reversal of type 2 diabetes is not about finding a quick fix diet. It's also not about just taking those medications that were given blindly and continuing to eat the foods that eventually are going to catch up to us. I don't think there's a diabetic that doesn't or isn't aware of what will happen to us eventually, even with the fact that we're taking medications. The medications are just prolonging or allowing us to eat foods that are actually not good for us. And so I dedicate myself to helping people make better choices, choose foods that are a lower carb content than the higher carb foods. And there are so many foods out there that can do this. I myself was able to get off get off metformin and successfully. I was on 4 pills a day. I was told that if I didn't control my blood sugars, that I'd be increasing the amounts of drugs I was taking. And that finally kicked me into gear and, convinced me to change my lifestyle. And you'll notice that I never use the word diet. I hate the word diet, because diet denotes that you are going on a diet. And so your brain already says, I'm going on it, I'm going off it. So you set yourself up for failure if you say to yourself, I'm going on a diet. And that tells your brain that you're going to do it for a short period of time. But eventually you're going to go off it. So the changes I made 8 years ago and continue to do, that's 8 years worth of a lifestyle change. I no longer eat high carb foods, although I do fall victim. I do. There are times when I fall very deeply into the carb addiction and the food addictions that I suffer from, because I'm a former carbaholic, and I'm a recovering carbaholic. Nothing made me happier than sinking my teeth into coconut cream pie or a chocolate cake or, pizza or a huge plate of pasta. There was just so much joy and so much. I didn't think of anything when I ate those foods. They just filled this void in me and I just couldn't stop eating them. So the permanent weight loss and permanently addressing your type 2 diagnoses is about making a commitment to yourself, that you will make changes in the way you eat and to incorporate, hopefully, some form of exercise if you want. The first 7 years of my life, I have to confess, I am a bit lazy and I did not exercise. This last year, I made time for exercise. And so my weight loss, I did lose an enormous amount of weight in those first 7 years, about 140 pounds. But incorporating exercise this past year has made my body become smaller. And so I didn't lose as much weight this past year because I've lost an enormous amount already. But I have been toning my body through light exercise with weights, nothing crazy. And I don't do cardio because cardio doesn't do anything for people, I think. That's my own opinion and my own experience. That high impact exercises, that's lovely. You're burning calories, but you're not toning your body. You're not building muscle mass, which will help you in your metabolism. creating muscle mass in your body. Muscle takes up much less space. Muscle takes up very much less space than carbs, right? So 5 pounds of muscle is a much smaller amount that it takes up in your body than 5 pounds of fat. So it's making a commitment, and it's not going on a diet. And I already told you why, because you go on diet, you are going off the diet. And so the lifestyle also is one that does not really, leave you reliant on purchasing products, snack bars, shakes. Everybody now is selling supplements, pre-made foods. There's a couple of programs out there that convince you that by buying their frozen dinners, you're going to lose your weight, you're going to conquer your diabetes, you're going to control your blood sugars. So my way of eating, what I dedicate myself to is counting carbs principally. But it's not just about counting carbs. It's about learning how to make better, healthier, low carb choices. It's changing your habits. It's creating a new lifestyle, and it's adaptable. I have vegetarian clients. I have clients that eat halal, kosher, pescatarian, dairy-free. So it is adaptable. And weight loss and, trying to control your blood sugars better as a type 2 diabetic is a great reason to start. But there's also the very important reason to stick to it, which is the ultimate goal of decreasing the amounts of medications you're taking as a type 2 diabetic, losing weight, and if not decreasing, outright getting rid of the medications that you're taking. It is possible. It is possible. And I am proof, as are others that have done this program. So, research on, principally when you're eating low carb, it's considered the keto lifestyle. I don't know if you've heard of that, or the low carb, high fat lifestyle. But, when you lower the amount of carbs you're eating, there are incredible benefits. And overall, this way of eating has been found to, number one, promote significant weight loss. So, and not everyone who's a type 2 diabetic needs to lose weight. So not everyone who's a type 2 diabetic is overweight or obese. I was obese and extremely overweight. And so when I started to decrease the amount of carbohydrates that I ate, I really drastically started to show a very significant weight loss. The first year I lost about, I believe it was between 40 and 50 pounds, because I didn't track it in the beginning, right? So that's a very large amount of weight that I lost. But if you calculate, over 7 years that I lost 140 pounds, you calculate that, that's actually 20 pounds a year. It's not a lot, because you have people saying, oh, I only lost 5 pounds last week. Well, that took me about 3 months to lose, right? Because 20 pounds a year is equivalent to 1.5 pounds a month. That's right. 1.5 pounds a month. That's less than, that's about half a pound or 3/4 of a pound a week. Imagine if you lost a pound a week, you lose 52 pounds in a year. That's amazing. So when somebody says, oh, I only lost 3 pounds last week, I only lost 5 pounds last week, that's incredible, because we're in such a hurry to lose that weight, to reverse our diabetes, that we don't realize it's a long-term lifestyle change, and that you have to be patient with yourself, and that you have to understand that it didn't take you one day to put on the weight. It didn't take you one day of eating a lot of carbs to become a type 2 diabetic. So it's not going to take one day to take it all off or to reverse it. And a lot of people want to give up because they're not seeing instant results. And I too, I wanted to lose all my weight fast within the month. And that sets you up for failure, because you give up so easily. So, one of the benefits of changing your lifestyle to the My Way of Eating program, which lowers the amount of carbs you eat, is that it promotes significant weight loss. Another thing is the fact that the number one killer in North America and probably other parts of the world is heart disease. When you're a type 2 diabetic, when you're eating high amounts of carbs, if you're obese or overweight, you have um, a higher chance of getting heart disease, and that's stroke, heart attack, etc. And so eating a low carb lifestyle will decrease your risk of having a heart disease. Number three is that you reduce insulin resistance. So as you start to lower the amounts of carbs you're eating, and when you're eating as many carbs as most of us are or were, in my case, your body is unable to handle that amount of carbs in your body. And so it cannot produce the amounts of insulin required to process the overflow of carbs that you're eating. And so eating a low carb lifestyle reduces the insulin resistance, and your body starts to burn fat as opposed to sugar and carbs. So if you can imagine, because we're all eating more carbs than we should, the body burns the carbs, and then the excess that it can't consume because we've eaten way more than the body needs to burn gets put on as weight, principally as fat. It gets stored. And so when you switch to a lower carb lifestyle, your body starts to burn what little carbs you eat, because I'm not saying to go zero carbs. My way of eating is dedicated to making lower carb choices. And so it reduces insulin resistance. Also, it enhances brain health. So no more foggy brain. I used to suffer from that. I remember walking into the office and telling people, everybody knew anyway, do not talk to me. I was grumpy. I need my bagel. I need my Western omelet on, toast. I want my BLT on 3 layers of toast, whole wheat toast, a very high carb, a carb rich way of eating. And so what was happening is that my brain was foggy with all the sugar that I'd eaten the night before, all the high carb foods that I had eaten. And waking up in the morning, I was grumpy as could be till I got my fix, like a drug addict looking for its next fix, his or her next fix. It's like an alcoholic looking for his alcohol of choice in the morning when he's been on a binge. So you've got to understand that my brain health is amazing. I fire like crazy, my brain is on fire, rapid fire. I have so much energy, which is my next one. The My Way of Eating program and switching to this lifestyle gives you so much energy. Just the way I'm talking now, and I'm waving my hands around, that's the way I am, like constantly from the minute I wake up. I'm no longer grumpy. I'm like, good morning. It's just amazing, the turnaround, because, I now remember like those carb induced almost comas I'd be in. There's a horrid picture of myself. It is a picture from 10 years ago, and it's Christmas dinner at my in-laws. And I have eaten a very high carb meal, mashed potatoes. We're Italian, so we also had pasta there along with all the Christmas type foods. I had eaten, my mother-in-law loves to make lasagna for Christmas, and I had 3 slabs of it in my mother's portions. They're huge. So there I went, having a 4th slab of lasagna, and everybody in the family just looked at me and said, wow, another slice of lasagna. And I'm like, yep. Don't tell me what to do. I'm sure that you all have done that before. And I remember there's this picture I found, and it is on my website, of me slumped over, eyes closed, big belly, bloating all over my body because I don't have energy. I'm in a carb coma there. I have fallen asleep because of the amounts of sugar coursing through my body. And I'm experiencing brain fog, and I'm slumped over in a chair. And I know that they woke me up the big complaint with my in-laws was always, there she goes sleeping again. What I didn't realize, it was because I was a type 2 pre-diabetic at that time. And it was my body's way of coping with the enormous amounts of carbs I was giving it. And so I remember being woken to say, hey, come, it's time for dessert. And there was the pumpkin pie. There was the cannolis, because we're Italian, so we have Italian pastries, all, the lemon tarts. And I just dug in again. And it was horrible to see that picture, to be honest. So now I have enormous amounts of energy. But it also, eating low carb, this is a surprise for some, but it helps women who are having difficulties in getting pregnant. So if you're a type 2 diabetic or not, and you're trying to get pregnant, bringing down the amounts of carbs in your diet, for lack of a better word, will actually, bringing that down has helped women who were having difficulty in getting pregnant, right? And so it also, lowering the amount of carbs also aids in the treatment of various health conditions, such as PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome, lipodema, which is bloating, especially around the legs. You get the elephant man legs. Fatty liver is resolved when you lower the amounts of carbs you eat. Type 2 diabetes, of course, number one reason, I should have put it at the top when I was listing these benefits, because as a reversed type 2 diabetic, I'm no longer on medication. But I do know that if I were to go back to eat a high carb go back to a high carb lifestyle, it wouldn't happen quickly, because my body now is quite efficient in consuming the carbs and not packing it on as weight. But I do know that I would eventually become a type 2 diabetic again. And so it also, my way of eating and bringing down the amounts of carbs also, it helps treat certain types of cancer. It's a known fact now, and scientists and the medical profession are aware that cancer loves carbs and sugar. And so I wish that I had a cousin who passed from, breast cancer. And one of the sad things for me is that I, at the time, had not switched yet to this lifestyle, or maybe I had, but I wasn't quite an expert yet. But having discovered that it aids in treating some forms of cancer, I'm wondering if I had been able to help my cousin, my beloved cousin, who I still miss to this day, in helping her not eat high carb foods when she had the breast cancer. It also aids in Parkinson's disease, as well as Alzheimer's disease, which Alzheimer's is now being called type 3 diabetes. Very sad to hear that. And I do mention this in another session of mine, that Alzheimer's is now being called by the medical professionals Alzheimer's disease, because a high carb lifestyle impacts the brain. And so, it's just amazing the benefits that have come for me, and some people actually joke and say your skin is beautiful, it's glowing. Do you have a Dorian Gray painting in your attic? I don't know if anybody knows the legend of Dorian Gray, but he was, I think, an artist. He made a deal with the devil. The painting, he had done a self-portrait of himself, was up in the attic. It grew older, but Dorian Gray never aged a day. Because of that deal he did. So I made no deal with the devil, but I did decide to commit to a lower carb lifestyle, and the benefits are amazing. So when you're eating low carb, keto, whatever you wish to call it, you enter into a state of ketosis. So I want to explain what ketosis is. And ketosis is a process that happens when your body doesn't have enough carbs to burn for energy. So our body, like a car, needs, it needs something to burn in order to function. A car uses gas. For humans, our gas is food. And so when you don't give your body high carb foods, it needs to burn something, but because the body doesn't find the carbohydrates to use for energy, it burns fat and makes things called ketones, which it can use for fuel. So I'm going to do a deeper dive in another session on where I'm going to talk about ketosis and ketones and how the body switches from a carb burning machine to a fat burning machine, which I proudly can claim I'm a fat burning machine. But I want to ensure that I've shown you the basic principles of healthy low carb eating, because I don't want to set anyone up for failure, as I know that feeling all too well. So, there are many, many low carb foods that I'm going to be talking about that mimic the foods we're going to miss. I have alternatives to bread, I have alternatives to mashed potatoes. There are so many foods I've discovered that give me the sensation that I'm eating the higher carb food that it is replacing or that it is an alternative to. It's just amazing, but that will be dealt with in a different session. But you're not going to feel deprived. But there are always so many excuses, but there are even more solutions to making this your new healthy lifestyle. And so I hope that I have succeeded in today and in this session, giving you some of the amazing benefits when you lower your carb intake. And so, again, Luisa Morrone, I am the founder of My Way of Eating, which is dedicated to reversing diabetes, type 2 diabetes, as I have done for myself, and helping type 2 diabetics either manage their blood sugars better, lower their blood sugars, get off medication totally, or decrease the amount of medication, as well as, of course, losing weight. And so thank you again for listening. And until next time, be well. Thank you.